back, listeners, to the Mindful Living podcast. I'm your host, Sana. Now, so often when we think of fitness, we picture endless hours at gym, sweating it out, pushing harder, chasing some version of health that feels more exhausting than fulfilling. But just imagine, what if fitness didn't have to be that way? What if movement wasn't just about sculpting the body, those six packs or eight packs, washboard abs, but it's more around rewiring the brain as well, making change easier, faster, and maybe even more enjoyable. So, listeners, today we are joined by someone who has spent decades challenging outdated fitness traditions and reshaping how we think about exercises and brain health. PJ Glassey. He has developed a methodology that not only transforms bodies but also strengthens the mind. His work blends exercise, science, neuroscience, and a passion for sustainable health. So, together, we are going to explore how mindful movement and brain training can actually unlock a healthier, longer, and more vibrant life for all of us. So, PJ, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really excited for this conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Lana. It's great to be here.
Totally, totally. Um, okay, PJ, I'll be very honest. In fact, I also kind of have this, very outdated overview around fitness, eight packs, six packs, muscles, and all that stuff. And you have said that traditional training methods, the ones most gyms rely on, they are outdated and even they're risky. Can you break down what you mean by that?
Yes. So I invented a very new and different and unique exercise methodology because of the outdated traditional methods. By
Mhm.
outdated, I mean they were invented back in 1891 by Eugene Sandow, who's a famous European strongman. He came to the United States to make his fortune with strongman shows, and he did really well, and he was really strong. And he looked really strong. And most of the guys back in the late 1800s were skinny and they wanted
Mhm.
to look more like Eugene. And so they finally talked him into selling his methodology, which was sets and reps. And that's what most people are still doing nowadays. But,
Yeah.
we're not still driving cars from 1891. So when I was in college getting my degree in exercise science, I set out to create a new and updated version of exercise because we've had a lot of really great research studies since 1891. And so I used those to develop my methodology to make exercise more efficient, take less time, and give people functional results, functional fitness, instead of just mindless movements and sets and reps without really having to concentrate on it. And so what it ended up turning out to be was a combination of great physical exercise and functional fitness, but also amazing for the brain and for the mind because of the mindfulness that ended up working its way into this. And so it's really both brain and body training is what it has turned out to be.
Hmm. So it's basically, you exercise, but it's smarter. It's mindful exercise. Yeah,
Mhm.
of course, movement and brain training. Yeah. Because, there's so many misconceptions. And to be honest, PJ, thank you for it enlightening us with that, history, that background, how it all started. Because I personally, I didn't know about that. Mm,
Mhm.
and it's kind of, we see others and we try to kind of imitate them or seek inspiration from them, in spite of trying to understand our body in a better way or our brain in a better way,
Mhm.
ourself in a better way. Um, and s- Also, I'm really curious to know, like, if the old ways are more around bulking and breaking, um, what's the first mental shift people need to make to embrace your approach? Because so many of them, especially, I mean, I must ask you, like, have you got any kind of, uh, you know, uh, skepticism or contradiction around this? And if yes, then what exactly, what kind of mental shift people need to make to embrace this?
Yeah, of course. Everyone is skeptical because my workout takes 21 minutes and you only have to do it twice a week. That's equivalent to about 7 hours of traditional training. And so nobody believes that. And I don't expect anyone to believe it. That's why we have our free intro for, people that come to XGym, either
Uh-huh.
the gym here in Kirkland, Washington, or we also do a ton of online training all around the world. And we have a worldwide exercise app that people can get. So it's really a worldwide thing. And so, of course, people are skeptical because all they know is traditional training, sets and reps, which is very time consuming. And
Mhm.
so when they hear about two 21-minute workouts, that 42 minutes a week is equivalent to 7 hours of traditional training, of course they don't believe it. And that's why it's so exciting to show people the methodology so they can experience it for themselves, because it's actually so different from everything out there that it's hard for even me to explain it. Because it's so different. I can't say, well, it's kind of like this or it's kind of like that, because it's not kind of like anything. And it's time under tension, and it's to complete muscle fatigue, and it's focused concentration the entire time. So, because of the focus, it's really good for the brain and the prefrontal cortex and the motor cortex, and people get more coordinated. And so that makes the fitness very functional, meaning they can use it in the real world, and they get better at sports, and they can take up things for the first time, like they 70 years old go out paddleboarding, and you're not falling off the whole time, and there's not that steep learning curve because you're so much more coordinated because of all these mindful movements where you've been focusing on your movement, getting in touch with your body. And in contrast, a professional bodybuilder, it would be the opposite of that, because that professional bodybuilder is doing Eugene Sandow's methods from 1891. And he should, by the way, because it's perfect for bodybuilding. Anybody that
Mm.
wants to do bodybuilding does need to do Eugene's methods because it's the best. That it was brilliant for that. And there's nothing better so far out there. It takes a ton of time, but if you think about the movements, they're rapid, uncontrolled movements for most bodybuilders. Some are smart and they control them more, and that's even better. But this classic standard sets and reps, very ballistic, fast motions. And while you're doing your reps, you can watch the TV or you can talk to your friend. You don't have to focus. And so being uncontrolled, not controlled by the brain, namely, it's detraining the nervous system. Uncontrolled movements create detraining and uncoordinated people. So you ask the best example of this is ask any professional bodybuilder to do a sport he's never done. And the
Mm.
first time he tries it, he's a complete oaf because he's been
Yeah.
detraining his nerves for hours every day. But you ask one of our people to take up a new sport, and it's like they've done it before because they're more coordinated, mainly because of this mindfulness and this focus on movement. Some people say we're kind of like Tai Chi with heavy
Mm.
weights, or well, light weights
Mm.
really, because it's time under tension. You can't do heavy weights with my methodology, but Tai Chi is normally with no weights. So we would be using moderate or light weights, or maybe elastic tubing or something like that. A lot of body weight stuff. We do a lot of that with suspension training. And we just don't have machines in our gyms that guide your motion. The only real machine we have that would look like in a regular gym is a cable machine, but that's still free motion. And we took the weight stack out, we put a winch inside, and the trainer controls with the remote. And so everything is so different that
Mm.
everybody is controlling their own motion through the entire range of motion. And people get better at, like our golfers, for instance. They will
Mm.
comment after a couple months of working out in our gym that, "Hey, my score went down and I haven't changed anything. What's going on?" And in golf, score going down is a good thing. So they used to golf in the 90s and now they're in the 80s. And they're like, I'm a better golfer, but I haven't changed. And my response is, yeah, you're just more coordinated. You're more in control of your body because of all the mindful movements that you're doing in here. So that's really the main difference.
You explain it very well, PJ. And I absolutely agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. And I think uh, the good part is here that you are not dismissive of uh, what exactly like professional bodybuilding or fitness is into. But on the other end as well, I absolutely connect with the holistic purpose here,
Mm,
not
mm,
only from a fitness point of view, but from coordination, like the connection between the right and left parts of our brain,
mm,
and how sometimes people could connect tai chi or any kind of eastern technique in there, especially
mhm,
when it comes to nervous system or coordination or focus,
mhm,
or that mindfulness. um and also, Mm, you have connected exercise not just to the body, but to brain health, and we just saw how it exactly works. But I'll just go a bit towards a personal, phase in your life.
mhm.
You have done this especially after your mother's Alzheimer's diagnosis,
Yep.
um, and considering the fact that there's increase in conversations around aging. And I don't think right now we should also take aging into factor. There are multiple factors which can actually impact your brain health, your nervous system. We're talking about nervous system dysregulation and all stuff like that. So how exactly does movement reshape or protect the brain in there, PJ?
Mm, yes. Movement models the brain. It actually rewires the brain, but it has to be mindful movement. You have to be thinking about it and concentrating on it. So
Okay.
meditation is great and but however, meditation is very easy to define. It's just focusing. It's focusing on anything. If you can focus on one thing for more than a minute, you've just done meditation. And when you're doing that, you will find that you are distracted along the way. And that's okay. Because when your mind comes off that one thing, then you have to pull yourself back to that one thing. That's like a rep. So your brain is doing reps every time that happens. So a lot of people, when they first start meditation, meaning just concentrating, focusing on something, they they will kind of get down on themselves because they'll do it. They'll stay focused for 10 seconds and then they think about the next thing they have to do in the day or a sound that they hear has distracted them and now they're thinking about what that sound is and they go, oh man, I suck at this, and then they get discouraged. But if people just realize, no, that's actually part of it, and you just did a rep. So
Mhm.
every rep is gonna make your brain stronger, and as you become better at meditation, you'll need to do less reps, but even the most mindful Buddhist monk out there that meditates all day is still gonna have to do reps. Nobody can totally focus the entire day. They have to, and so these reps are part of the process, and the process is what people should appreciate, not the achievement of being able to hyper focus on anything. It's the process that's giving them the benefit. So whether they're doing lots of reps because they're not very quote good at it yet, which doesn't matter. There's no such thing as bad at it. It's just doing it that's the most important thing. Whether you're doing lots of reps or few reps because you've done it more, you're still getting the same benefit because it's the benefit of the brain and the rewiring of the brain and the focus and the strengthening of the prefrontal cortex. Now, when you're a good meditator, because you've done it a long time, and I put the word good in quotes because you really can't define it. It's just doing it that's the important thing.
Mhm.
Then your prefrontal cortex is stronger. You're able to make better decisions. You're able to simulate the future, different scenarios better, and you have more control over your whole life because the prefrontal cortex is kind of like the parent brain. And
Hmm.
that also is the part of the brain that can program our subconscious, which actually is in control of us. And, there's a whole rabbit hole we can dive down if you want to on this, but the bottom line is you have more impulse control with a strong prefrontal cortex, which means you have more willpower and you make better decisions. And when people that who make better decisions and have more impulse control, their lives are just better. Their lives are better, they're happier, they're more in control, they have more willpower because of their PFC, that's their prefrontal cortex. Find making habits easier, breaking old habits easier, and all this stuff. Life is just easy. And we incorporate that in our movements, in our exercise. So when people are doing our workout, they are actually meditating. It's a form of meditation because of the control and the focus that they have to exert during these movements and these methods.
Hmm. So is it like, let's say for example, I'm doing squats.
Mhm.
Mm. Then how can I add maybe any practice of mindfulness into it? Maybe, meditation or anything. Like, correct me if I'm getting wrong.
Mhm. So an advanced ex-gymmer
Okay.
will focus on certain things when they're doing a certain exercise. So you mentioned squats, so we'll talk about that. So
Okay.
you start out by, placing your feet around shoulder width apart, and
Okay.
then perfect form means slightly arched low back, chest is out, head and shoulders are back as far as you can, so your spine is as vertical as possible. It's going to go forward, of course, because you have to balance too, but that's the form. And then you slightly bend your knees. That's the top. Now, you're going to squat down just like you're sitting in a chair. It's exactly like people sitting in a chair. It's a natural movement. Squatting down as low as you can go. Different people can go different depths. That's all
Okay.
individual. And then when you get to the bottom, hold it there for a couple seconds. And then coming up 7 seconds or slower. And then the top is only two-thirds of the way to the top. So your knees are still bent, your quads are still working, and then slowly down to 7 seconds to that bottom part of the range. And so you're going down 7 seconds, up 7 seconds with a pause at the bottom, because that's the sweet spot of the range. So there's lots of
Mhm.
things to focus on. And the whole time you're doing this, you're focusing on the speed, you're focusing on your form, and you're doing it properly. And as you do this, you get better at it, just like with meditation. Every time you get a little better at it. And so it takes less concentration as you're doing it, but you're still 100% focused. You're just doing less of those reps that we talked about, those brain reps, as you're doing your physical reps. And
Correct.
so all this stuff that you're concentrating on, because you're not distracted. You can't watch a TV. You can't talk to somebody while you're doing this because if you do, then your form goes to heck and your speed, you're not going the right speed anymore. And so giving you these things to focus on makes it mindful movement and it connects your body with your brain. There's a chain of muscles that you're exercising that you're using when you're doing the squat. There's your quads, there's your glutes, even your hamstrings, calves, lower leg for balance, ankles, all those things. And it's all connected as a chain. All those muscles are talking to each other, and the brain is overseeing this conversation. When you're doing it mindfully and controlled like this, those all those different muscles get better at talking to each other. And then when you go out and you run or you jump or you get on your paddleboard, those muscles are already really good at talking to each other, and your nervous system is very entrained and very efficient. And so you're better coordinated and you're able to do things. They, it's also, you'll find this in certain forms of yoga, the power yoga, where you're exerting effort. It's the same time under tension. or bar method is another one that's time under tension. Pilates is time under tension. And if you're doing all these things right and staying in contraction the whole time and
Mhm.
focusing on it, you don't get to talk about your day like you do with traditional personal trainers, what's going on in your life and stuff like that. There's no time for that because you're focusing 100% the entire time on these mindful movements. And that's how it becomes so good for your brain and good for your body.
Absolutely. I mean, I was literally laser focused, when you were just, uh, narrating the movements and the timed movements and how at different steps it has to be like we have to hold it and then go to the next step, so
Mhm.
it requires laser focus in there, it requires a full concentration in there. And yeah, exactly, I think you beautifully mentioned that all the muscles are there talking with each other. So of course. So, PJ, before we wrap up, if our listeners they would like to have a glimpse of this experience and they would also like to connect with you, get access to all the resources that you are sharing, what would be the easiest way?
The easiest way is just go to xgym.com, xgym.com. And then, if they want to get connected on socials, those are at the bottom of the homepage. And all the other stuff is on there. And that just makes it really easy. Just one place to go.
Absolutely. So, listeners, what I'll do for you is I'll mention all the details in the show notes. Just go to xgen.com and see for yourself, experience it out. And of course, check out their socials on their website. And also, PJ, I must really thank you because you have reminded us that lasting change is less about force, it's more about alignment. And of course, movement with precision, movement and brain training. So, thank you so much. This was really, really needed, I guess.
Yeah, right on. My pleasure.
Yeah. So, listeners, as we wrap up, I think, PJ reframed fitness for us, not as a grind, but as an invitation to tune into our brain, our body, our long term health in ways that feel smarter, safer, and more sustainable. So, if this conversation sparked something within you, whether it's rethinking the way you move, or realizing your brain is actually the secret ingredient to lasting health, don't just let that thought pass, just try it, explore it, let movement become mindful, let your brain lead the way. Until then, this is the Mindful Living, and I'm your host, Sana. Stay curious, stay mindful, and keep moving with purpose. Thank you.